What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and I've been having a ton of fun in Season 3 as a support. Overall, I do believe that supports got buffed due to the gold and mastery changes, and they are definitely still a ton of fun to play. In this video, I'll be giving you guys my advice for support runes and mastery pages. To competitively play support, I am using 8 total mastery pages and 7 total rune pages. Let's go over the mastery pages first. Now, there are a couple of specific masteries I wanted to talk about before we go into the actual pages. First is that getting 3 points into Mastermind is almost mandatory, since it gives a 30-second cooldown reduction for your flash, and that is a very large window to not have flash up, if your opponent does. Not taking this mastery makes you extremely vulnerable for those 30 seconds, and that is why we have to take this mastery on every single page as a support. The reason why it's so good now is because it's much earlier in the tree than it was before, and as such is extremely beneficial. The next mastery I want to make a specific mention for is block. This mastery will make you take 5 less damage from auto attacks. This difference is game changing in lane before level 6, where auto attacks are the majority of harass, and as such, this is one of the best masteries in the game as a support, since it gives you a huge amount of early game tankiness, and on average should save you about 20 to 40 damage every single trade, which is a lot of HP pre-level 6. Another important mastery is Scout. Now that you have Sight Stones, using wards to face check is very common, and thus happens very often. This 25% increased vision is phenomenal for face checking, and this mastery in general just has great synergy with Sightstone, so we get it on every single mastery page because it's so early in the tree. The last mastery I wanted to make a mention of is Summoner's Wrath. This mastery is extremely powerful if you are taking Exhaust, and as such is great if you are, but if you're not taking Exhaust, Ignite, or Ghost, then this mastery is completely useless to you, and you can just put that point in somewhere else. However, I always take Exhaust, so almost all of my mastery pages use this mastery. Now let's get into the actual pages. The first page I take when I'm playing Leona or Taric. We go deep into the defensive tree for massive tankiness. The defense tree is almost god tier in Season 3, and on supports where we want to be really tanky, we go deep into it, which leads to a 1-21-8 setup. There are a couple of things to note about this mastery page though. The first is the reason why we take legendary armor. This is because both Leona's and Taric's W scale off it, causing it to be an amazing 3 points that will usually give about 5 or more armor and magic resistance late game. Defender also gives around 5 armor and MR late game, and as such both of these masteries are extremely cost efficient. This page gives you a huge advantage over squishy supports, and because of it, Taric and Leona got buffed greatly in this patch. The next mastery page is for the melee supports that are not Taric or Leona. We take points into Relentless because melee supports can get kited really hard by slows, and this mastery helps lower the effectiveness of those slows. And we also had 2 points left over. Once again we go 1-21-8 because the defense tree is really strong, especially on all melee supports. The third mastery page is for a melee support playing against a high CC team. This page takes both Relentless and the Tenacious mastery, already greatly reducing the effect of that CC. And as with any melee support page, we go 21 into defense, creating a 1-21-8 setup once again. The fourth mastery page is for if you plan on doing a major level 1 strategy. The Wealth and Explore masteries are phenomenal in invades, so we see a 1-13-16 setup allowing for good tankiness and some very strong level 1 items. The fifth mastery page is for a passive lane. In a lane where you don't expect to get kills, the Greed mastery is very helpful because you need some gold generation. Add to that some defense to prevent deaths and we see a 1-17-12 setup. The next mastery page is for Sona and Lulu. On this page we take the Meditation mastery because Sona and Lulu have huge mana problems. And since they are ranged supports, the defense tree is only simply good, just not amazing like it is for the melee supports, and this leads to a 1-14-15 setup. The seventh mastery page is for ranged supports that are not Sona or Lulu. On this page we take Pickpocket because you would be harassing a lot more with auto attacks than you would on Lulu or Sona, as they primarily harass with their skills. We could not afford to put the 1 point to Summoner's Wrath on this tree, as any of the other points are way too crucial to give up, and this leads to a 0-13-17 setup. The last mastery page is for when you are starting Crystalline Flask and want a 4th ward. The 2 points into Wealth allow you to start with 4 wards, which is much stronger than the Flask, and 3 wards, since if you buy the Flask you probably don't expect it back for a while, so that 4th ward is almost completely necessary. Now, there are a couple of masteries that I should talk about why they are not as good as they might seem. The first is the Perseverance Mastery. This mastery isn't too great because you will always have either a Crystalline Flask or be building an early Philosopher's Stone, and thus health regeneration is not that necessary. And if you do get low enough for it to give you a bunch of regen, you probably need to back anyways. Another mastery to mention is Summoner's Resolve. Heal was greatly buffed for support's last patch, and as such this is an excellent mastery if you take heal. I, however, love Exhaust way too much, so I don't take heal, but I would definitely put a point into this mastery if I did. The last mastery to mention is Awareness. This 5% EXP boost is actually a lot less than you would think, and will only really give you an XP advantage of about a few creeps, definitely less than a wave. Yes, you will hit level 18 much faster, but there are simply just much better things to put your points into. Now let's move on to my rune pages. First, let's talk about the argument of gold per 10 quints versus movement speed quints on a support. A lot of people prefer gold per 10 quints since they enjoy the gold, but I personally greatly enjoy movement speed quints because it really helps with my aggressive playstyle, and just in making plays overall. But if you prefer gold quints, you can take those instead. That being said, my first rune page is for passive lanes, and as such we take gold quints. You need gold generation in a passive lane, so we are forced into taking gold quints. Also, we take armor yellows and reds, and then magic resistance blues. As a support, you need tankiness on your runes, or you will just get destroyed in fights. And defensive masteries scale extremely well with armor and magic resistance runes, and that can make you very tanky. The next page is exactly like the last page, except with movement speed quints. This is my standard page on melee supports that are not Taric or Alistar, but if I had to pick only one page to use for supporting, this page would be it, as it's a very well-rounded solid page, giving you good tankiness and great movement speed. The third page is for Taric and Alistar only. It's the same as the last page, except we take magic resistance per level blues. This is because on Taric and Alistar, you need to be a main tank for your team, as opposed to other supports which need to be an off tank, and thus you need a good source of magic resistance late game, since you will likely not build any strong magic resistance items. The only reason why we don't take this page on Leona is because Leona really needs early game tankiness to get kills, so thus we use the melee page with flat magic resistance blues for her. The fourth page is for Sona and Lulu. This page has 5 mana regen yellows, with move quints and tankiness throughout the rest of the page. This mana regen is crucial to your lane presence as Sona or Lulu, as you have very big mana issues, and of course you still need to be tanky, so we take defense and move quints in the rest of the page. The next page is for Sona and Lulu in a passive lane. This is simply if I am playing Sona or Lulu in a bad matchup and I don't expect to get kills or any source of extra gold, and so you need the gold generation. The next page involves 80 reds. This page I take on ranged supports that use auto attacks to harass, mainly on Soraka or Janna. These champions don't have as much mana problems, so we don't need the mana regen, but of course we still need the tankiness. My last page is my favorite page, which is why I've saved it for last. This is like the Lulu Sona page, but with 80 reds as well as the 5 mana regen yellows and move quints. Tankiness fills up the rest of the page, which isn't that much, so that means that this rune page has a very high skill cap because you'll be very squishy. This is the best page for getting kills on Lulu or Sona, but it's also a very risky page and you can feed really easily since you'll be a lot less tanky than you're used to. However, this aggressive page greatly utilizes the move quints in that you expect to be able to trade much better than your opponents to make up for their tankiness. So that's it for my guide to Season 3 support runes and masteries. Keep an eye out for more Season 3 support guides from me. I'd love if you guys could support me with a like, an upvote on the Reddit thread, of which there will be a link in the description, or some feedback. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time!